Welcome back to our November edition of What's Up Stratford. Joining me next is Jasmine Clark from Optimism Place. Jasmine, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
Let's talk, before we talk about your campaign, why is there such a need in our community for a shelter?
Well, we're actually, and most people wouldn't know this, but this is actually the 40th year we have existed in Stratford and Perth County, which is something that always surprises people. But we have existed for 40 years. We've been available to women and children 24/7 who are experiencing abuse and violence. And so it is an issue of epidemic proportion across Ontario and across Canada, and right here, obviously, in Perth County. And that is why we are here. That is what we do every day.
And the people that can come and to your place for shelter, how long can they stay for, and can they bring children? Are there any other restrictions regarding
Yeah.
coming to Optimism?
So they can stay as long as they need to, essentially, to before they're able to find safe, secure, and affordable housing in a community of their choice. We used to say on average it took about 6 weeks to transition from the shelter back into the community. But now, obviously, with the way the housing market is, it is a significant challenge for the women we support. So sometimes it actually takes less than 6 weeks, depending on someone's resources and connections, and sometimes it can take up to 6 months. Yes, women can come with their children, and they do often. We've got lots of kids in the shelter right now. And so there isn't restrictions on how long they can stay. It's really about meeting each family's individual needs. But what happens is, of course, we are limited in the number of beds we have. And so there becomes this backlog of space. You know, people are moving out slower than we're able to move people in. And of course, it creates this backlog that's just, really overwhelming at this point in our community.
Now we'll get to the capital campaign. So once you fundraise, your responsibility is to fundraise for the capital, and then you get government funding for operating expenses. Is that how it works, the model?
A little bit of both. So yes, so currently with the space that we have now, we have 13 funded beds, and we receive about 80% of our funding from various governments, but primarily the provincial government. And then the other 20% we fundraise to close the gap between what we have and what we need. And that's in a regular year. That's not when we're fundraising for a major expansion.
Tell us about the beautiful addition that you're going to be putting on.
Yeah, so we are in the home stretch of what we are calling our Building on Hope campaign. We started fundraising just over a year ago, and we broke ground last December on the addition. So we are building an additional 7,000 square feet of shelter space on our current site. Within that space, there will be 10 additional bedrooms and 15 or so beds. When I say or so, it kind of depends on the makeup of the families that will be in those rooms. Some need cots and cribs, depending on how many children they have, for example. So yeah, it's a major addition. It will double the size of the shelter and the space that we have. And it will mean we are able to serve twice as many women at the shelter. It's bright, it's beautiful, it's accessible. I've had a chance to walk through, and of course, we're really excited to open our doors and welcome new families.
And when do you expect to open the doors?
So we are hoping early in January, early in the new year. We should occupy the space this month, meaning we'll have an occupancy permit. But then we need to settle in. We need to move into the space. We need to set up furniture, the bedrooms. We need to train new staff because, of course, we will need additional staff to be there to support women who are residing at shelter. And so there'll be a bit of an adjustment period. And then we hope in the new year, we're able to open those doors and scale up the supports that we're able to offer.
Yeah, this is great. And finally, I know this is a very large capital campaign, around 5 million. How can people help you get to that successful goal? Because you're almost there.
We're very close. The overall cost, like you said, for the project is 5 million. We started our capital campaign with only $1 million to go of that, and we are close. We are within about $100,000 to close the gap between what we have and what we need. So Right now, we're looking for folks who haven't participated yet and are interested in contributing, whether that's businesses or individuals or families. If you're looking to help, there is a way. There's lots of information on our website about how you can get involved and how you can contribute. And the other thing that we're asking folks is if you can't, maybe you know someone who can. So sharing what you've heard today with your friends, your neighbors, your family, signing up for our newsletter, checking out our socials, and just sharing kind of the word about what we're doing. I think it's important for me that not only we raise the funds required for this project, but that we raise awareness about the shelter in general, you know, that we exist, that we're here for women, and the fact that sadly we had to turn away, you know, over 300 women last year who called when they were ready to exit their relationships or come into a safe space. So I think that those are things that I would say to the community. It's important that we raise the funds, but it's important that you know that we're here.
Well, Jasmine, thanks for your leadership and thank you for giving hope to people that need it the most.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks for having me.
Coming up next is Cheryl Hunt from the Stratford General Hospital Foundation.